In this video, we are going to cover 9 topics of medieval era that are Introduction, Charlemagne, Feudalism, the Roman Catholic Church, the Crusades, the High Middle Ages, anti-Semitism in Western Europe, the Black Death, and the Hundred Years' War. First of all, what is medieval era? The medieval era, also referred as Middle Age, is a period that lasted from around the 5th to the 15th century, was a time when people lived in societies that were quite different from what we have today. In the field of sociology, the Middle Ages hold great importance. During the Middle Ages, society was organized in hierarchical way. At the very top were kings and nobles who had a lot of power and controlled the land. Most people, however, were peasants who worked the land for the nobles. There was very little social mobility, meaning it was hard for a person to change their social status. Religion played a big role in people's life during the Middle Ages, and the Catholic Church was a powerful institution. Life during the Middle Ages was often centered around the small villages, and people lived in close-knit communities. They had to rely on each other for protection and resources because the world was not as interconnected as it is today.
Charlemagne was a powerful leader in Europe a very long time ago. Around 1200 years ago, he was the king of the Franks and later became an emperor. Charlemagne is famous for trying to make his kingdom smarter and better. He supported learning, arts, and religion. His reign had a big impact on the history of Europe, and he is often called Charles the Great.
Feudalism. The lack of strong leaders led to a new system of governance known as feudalism. One of the reasons behind the system was to provide protection from the Vikings, Magyars, and the Muslims. The political characteristics of feudalism included decentralized governments, kings granting land to their nobles in return for their loyalty and military support. Local lords made their own laws and armies. Due to these characteristics, the society was divided into 4 classes: the lords, the vassals, the knights, and the serfs.
In the medieval era, the Roman Catholic Church was the most powerful and influential institution in Europe. It was the center of religious life and had a major role in shaping society. The church had vast wealth, owned land, and controlled many aspects of people's lives. It conducted religious ceremonies such as Mass and sacraments and was the primary source of education. The Pope was the highest authority, and there were priests, monks, and nuns who served the church. Cathedrals and monasteries were important buildings of this time, and the church teachings were central to people's beliefs and daily activities.
The Crusades. In 1095 AD, Pope Urban II called for a crusade of Christian knights to go to the Middle East to retake the Holy Land of Jerusalem from Muslim control. Tens of thousands of European knights left to fight the Crusades. The Crusading knights were inspired by the promises of salvation, relief from taxes and debts, the spoils of war. There were a series of crusades over a period of 200 years. Ultimately, Muslims maintained control of the Holy Land. The after effects of the Crusades included stimulating the trade of goods and ideas between Europe and the Middle East, the return of coin money. Italian city-states gained power from trade along the Mediterranean Sea. The Europeans were exposed to Muslim advances in math, science, and medicine. The High Middle Ages. The development of towns led to the establishment of an influential middle class including merchants and artists. The growth of towns and cities shifted power from local lords to kings. This period saw a revival of learning, including works by Dante. The guild system was established as a way to protect the interests of tradesmen.
Anti-Semitism in medieval Western Europe was a prejudice and discrimination against Jewish people. During this time, many people held negative beliefs about Jews, often fueled by religious differences and economic competition. They were often blamed for various problems in society, such as economic difficulties or diseases. Jews were sometimes forced to live separately in areas called ghettos, and they faced violence and persecution. These attitudes and actions against Jews were widespread and persisted for many centuries in medieval Europe, leading to a history of discrimination and mistreatment.
The Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague, was a devastating pandemic that swept through Europe in 14th century. It is estimated to have occurred between 1347 and 1351. The disease was caused by Bacterium Yersinia pestis and was transmitted primarily through fleas that infested rats. It results in the death of millions of people across the continent, leading to widespread social, economic, and demographic upheaval. The plague that had a profound and lasting impact on the course of European history. The Hundred-Year War was a very long fight between England and France that lasted for more than 100 years. They were fighting about who should be the ruler of France. It involved big battles and famous people like Joan of Arc. In the end, France won and got most of its land. The war changed both countries a lot.